Hello, I am Steve Fisher. Otherworldly Fundraising is a fundraising organization that a group of nerdy friends have gotten together to do over the years. We decided that we wanted to raise money for charities for a good cause, and we were going to bring our nerdy talents together to do that. And every September, we have a virtual con in which we have celebrity guests and authors and panels and trivia. And it's like going to a Comic Con, but from the comfort of your own home. And you can watch and generate questions and comment and everything else. But every month, we want to do a non-fundraising charity event. We're not raising any money for any charities for our monthlies, but what we're trying to do is keep ourselves out there so that people know our name and they remember us come September when they want to come and donate. And so the April chat that we're doing right now is with Jason Micheals, former MLB player and Major League Baseball for anyone that happens to be on and doesn't know what MLB is. And we are here to talk about baseball. It's great to have you here, Jason. Thank you for taking the time to come chat with us. So I guess I will start with why baseball? What was it that caused you to decide, baseball is something that I really, really like?
Growing up, I started playing soccer first. And I think my parents was just fortunate enough. They were able to put me in some different sports, soccer, football, baseball, basketball. And it just seemed like the one that I gravitated more to or understood more was the baseball.
Okay. And doing some research, I saw that baseball is not something that is unknown to your family.
No. So my dad's dad played, and unfortunately, he passed when I was really young. So I never really got a chance to see him or talk with him and ask him questions. And he was a pitcher, and I was an outfielder.
Okay. Mm. Yeah, I saw that he played. He pitched for the Boston Red Sox.
He was in the organization.
Okay.
And I think at the time, instead of doing in minor leagues now, they do A ball, double A, triple A.
Yeah.
They had Class A, Class B, Class C.
Okay. Nice.
So I think he was Class B or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then your dad was a quarterback.
So my dad went to college on a football, baseball scholarship and ended up just devoting all of his time to football. I mean, it really took most of his time. Mm-hmm. But, his family grew up, and he said everybody in his family played baseball. So it was kind of in the blood a little bit. And
yeah.
But, Dad was a really good quarterback and got a chance to go to the next level and play in college.
I love baseball, and I think watching baseball, playing baseball. I hear a lot of people that are saying baseball's slow, baseball's boring, but for me, just give me a team, a game to play and to watch, and I'll definitely enjoy it. And I see that. So you grew up in Tampa,
correct? Mm-hmm.
And so you went to high school and played baseball in high school, and I understand that you are not the only major leaguer to have graduated from your high school.
No, there's.
I know.
14 maybe or.
Wow, yeah, one of them being Lou Piniella. I saw that, and so playing baseball in high school, and you batted over 400 while you were in high school over your seasons playing. And did you at that point think to yourself, this is where I want to be. This is what can push me forward, and I'd like to maybe go forward with baseball?
I always had the dream of, when I was younger than in high school, I've always had the dream of playing. But it was just a dream. And
Hmm.
as I started playing more and having a little bit more success, I think luckily I still stayed in the present and didn't think like, oh, one of these days I'm going to be a major leaguer. I mean, it's really hard to make it up. And now, because I teach now, I do baseball and softball lessons, and a
Hmm.
lot of my lessons are the mental side of the game. And I tell people, I said, I never really had goals because I wanted to stay more in the present. The only thing I could control is I could control today. And
Sure.
I think that helped me out in the long term, is that I just kind of kept going. I was very consistent. I don't think I was ever the best player on the team. I think I was probably top three.
Hmm.
And I just stayed consistent and stayed motivated and just kind of kept going. And then, the opportunity came up.
Well, one of the things that I was reading about, and I actually kind of thought it was very interesting, and good to see you do this. But you had graduated from high school,
Hmm.
and you ended up going to Okaloosa Walton College, which was a community college in Florida, and you played baseball. You did really well, and the San Diego Padres said, "Hey, we'd like to take a look at you, and we'd like you to come, play with our system." And you said, "No, I think I'd like to finish. I'd like to go back to school."
Yeah. So actually, it was out of high school that the
Okay.
Padres drafted me. Now they drafted me in the 49th round. They don't have those rounds anymore.
Yeah.
I think it goes up to 20
Okay.
now. I think I'm not 100% sure, but so with me going to junior college or community college, the Padres still had my rights up to the next draft. So after my freshman season in junior college, they came back and offered me more money and like, to try to entice me. And I was like, whoa, I didn't think I didn't think I was mentally ready or
Sure.
physically. And number two, I was sitting there going, well, I mean, I'm getting my education paid for. I think I'm going to go another year if I can continue to go on this trend of keep going up at the same time, getting my education as
Yeah.
well. Then I may have something here. So yeah, it came down where I got drafted four times, four out of the possible five times.
Yeah. I saw that, and each time you said, "Hey, I'd like to go back to," because after the community college, you went to the University of Miami.
Right.
And what was your major?
Sports management.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good. If you're a baseball player, and I think that's a good major to go into to learn all about the business of the sports and everything. So
Yeah. It was really interesting, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed it.
that's good. And then I can understand why you would want to stay in that field and continue to play, and also continue with your eligibility to play during college, because you know you're still playing baseball, and you ended up getting um I see you got like the Panhandle player of, you got some award for being a one of the players of the Panhandle, and playing
Hmm.
um college, and knowing that the MLB teams wanted you. I think you probably knew that somebody was going to come calling at some point. You could go play with them, but you'd also have the college background to help to go forward.
Yeah, exactly. Just because the percentages are so low, that they really, really are. It's down around 1% or 2% that anybody I think goes to college that plays baseball, and for them to make it to the big leagues, or it's
Mhm.
there's a lot of competition, um, and like I go back to being consistent with staying in the present. I think I just was really fortunate that I was able to stay in the present and control what I could control.
Yeah. And so I know that when you were drafted, by the Phillies. Was that you'd finished college at that point?
I had a semester left.
Okay.
I just had a semester left, and so yeah, that was my last year, my senior year, or my fourth year of eligibility in college.
Okay.
And I mean, it was either sign or go play independent ball.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I felt I was mentally and physically mature, ready to take that next step.
And so then I see that when you got drafted by the Phillies organization, and you ended up being a muck dog for Batavia.
Yeah.
And I will say that I live in Rochester, New York, so I'm not that far away from Batavia.
Mm-hmm.
And I see after the Batavia Muck Dogs, you went to the Clearwater Phillies, and I did find the back of your Phillies card, and it just shows your average for Batavia,
Yeah.
268. 11 home runs. So
Yeah, that was interesting because here when I signed, I got a chance to go to Batavia, and so this is my first shot at pro ball, and
yeah,
I by far for the first 120 at bats, I was not at all a good player. I mean, Phillies they're sending coaches down from up top to going, hey, what's wrong with you? And I'm supposed to be the highest draft pick or the best player. And I had to make some adjustments. I really did. And luckily I made some good adjustments that allowed me to go to the next level.
So playing high school, then playing college, then playing, semi-pro on the way to MLB. What makes the difference between playing in high school and college and going up the next level that might make you, not, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but the fact that you said, you had to work on getting up there. I mean, how different is it between college ball and pro ball?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, now it's more international. Now you're playing with and against guys from Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. You can even have some internet, some Japanese or Korean. So it really opens up, and now you are, playing against a lot better competition. And and that's what I try to tell everybody is like, hey, it is what it is. You got to accept it, and you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to be consistent. You have to. It's a lot mental. It's a lot between the ears because everybody can pretty much hit, throw, run, and field their position.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's gonna separate you from everybody else to me comes down to consistency. Is not being in slumps for a long time, and that there is a position available on the next team, for you. So there's constant moves going on in the minor leagues here and there, and I know a lot of the teams they want to produce or develop their own guys and have those guys get up to the big leagues and produce for their team.
Okay. And once you were playing in the minors and working, did you now I might not know much about the process of like being drafted with the Phillies organization, but is it usual for, let's say you get drafted with the Phillies organization and you will eventually end up playing for the Phillies, or are there enough trades that sometimes it can be a crapshoot?
You know what? When you get to professional ball, I mean, you're just a pawn. That's all you are. And
Okay.
the only thing that you can control is what you can control, and that's yourself,
Okay.
and it's I think nowadays is a little bit different because every team is trading here and there every year. There's so many transactions, so many moves that I try to tell my pro guys. I said, guys, you got it. I mean, you can't control what those guys are going to do. The only thing you control is yourself. That's it.
Okay. And so you played with the Philadelphia Phillies,
Mm-hmm.
and your debut was April 6th, 2001.
Right.
What was that like, walking out, knowing it's your first time in the big leagues, going to, bat for MLB?
So when I got called up, it was maybe like 4 or 5 games into the season.
Okay.
One of the outfielders got hurt, and they ended up calling me up, and it was in Philly at Veterans Stadium, and we were playing the Cubs. It was a Sunday game, and I ended up getting to the park probably in the 6th inning. And so they had my jersey waiting for me, had my name on the back of my jersey, my number. And I mean, doing that as fast as I can, I get down to the dugout and really say hi to everybody. And then I think an inning later or a half inning later, hey, Micheals, why don't you go in and hit? So that's when the pitcher in the National Leagues, the pitcher hit.
Yeah.
And so I was, a fifth outfielder, pinch hitter, just come in and you got one shot, there it is, and I remember my heart rate probably being around 200. I mean, it was very high. Everything was happening really fast. I thought, that Veterans Stadium was huge. They have, 3 tiers. It goes all the way up. There was a lot going on. Promptly struck out my first at bat. I think I was the fifth strikeout in a row by the pitcher.
Okay.
Which I think at the time either tied a record or something like that for that pitcher. But anyways, everything was happening really, really fast. But it was very exciting, and I'll never forget it.
Now, do you remember your first hit as a major leaguer?
I do. Yeah, it was in Atlanta. It was a pinch at bat. I was facing Mike Remlinger, one of the left-handed reliever for the Braves at Atlanta. I ended up getting a base hit up the middle and having an RBI.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you mentioned back when the pitchers used to hit in the National League. What are your thoughts on the pitchers hitting versus the pitchers not hitting now that they've made it league wide?
Well, I got a little bit more old school thought about that. I mean, that's just the way the game has been played for 140 years, until whenever they started to do the, to have both, have DHs in both the National and the American League. I actually thought that was true baseball. I really felt that's when that's when the managers really had to manage their team, because they had to figure out ways, to pinch hit, double switch, effectively use their bench, effectively use their relievers. I just thought I thought that was what baseball was all about.
And for me, that is something that I agree with. I miss the days of seeing pitchers get up to bat, because, like you said, the manager has to make the decision. Am I going to keep this guy in because he's up next? Or am I going to do something else? And I think that is something that we've kind of lost now. And I think it was interesting having the leagues do different things. So seeing how it played out in the American League when they just had a DH, and then the National League when they didn't. And I will say this, and don't hate me, but I am a Dodger fan. I've been a Dodger fan since 1981, since before they became the evil people that some people think they are now. But as a Dodger fan, I know full well that if the designated hitter rule was not a part of the National League, Shohei Ohtani would not be playing for the Dodgers. And I fully understand that, but part of me still I mean, I am very happy he plays for the Dodgers, but part of me still misses that aspect of the game where the the coaches have to try to decide what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's I get it. I think what changed was social media,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's attention span just started to shrink, and they're trying to speed up the game because baseball is the only game that doesn't have a clock.
Yeah.
And now I huffed and puffed a little bit before with the pitch clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting there going, you know what, I'm all right with it. I really am. I think as a hitter, I think I definitely would have benefited from that because sometimes pitchers would take forever on purpose.
Yeah.
To kind of get the hitter to start to think a little bit and kind of outthink themselves at the plate. And I just hope that I don't know if they have enough information yet, but I mean, I hope that it doesn't hurt the pitchers if they have to throw all that, that quick within those 20 seconds. I mean, there's ways that you can sit there and you can figure out different ways of getting extra time now. But, I guess today's pitchers or everybody's throwing as hard as they can every pitch. Whereas, when I was coming up, you didn't have many. I call those guys throwers.
Okay.
I call, pitchers, like the Maddox or the Jamie Moyer or Tom Glavine, guys that changed speeds, changed locations, learned to pitch or know how to pitch. You just don't really have those guys anymore. And now it's just everything is as hard as you can throw it. And how fast does he throw it? That's bottom line. Or how hard did he hit it? Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, but I'll conform to it a little bit.
And then you may end up seeing more Tommy Johns that way.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I go back to, that we're just pawns in all these organizations. I mean, it's a business. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's a business, and business is about profit. Mm-hmm. And, we got to figure out the pieces for our team, for their, and do we need to get somebody from another team? And it's just a lot going on. And a little bit of me, it was like, they don't really care as much, about the health, of the player, because it's all comes down to numbers and profit, bottom line. Yeah. But it is what it is. I think players need to figure out a different way how to stay healthy. With everybody throwing as hard as they can. And obviously players playing every day, the position players, the hitters. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out a way to stay healthy no matter what.
Yeah. And another thing, when you say that, I noticed that staying healthy, we're missing some of, like, we don't see players, and this might not be as healthy as you would think, but like players like Cal Ripken, who played how many games in a row? You don't see, at least not that I can remember in any recent times, players that play like, over 1,000 games in a row without stopping.
And yeah, that was a pretty incredible record, and being at that level and playing, and especially at a position, he's playing shortstop, and he's a tall shortstop. So he's going to get worn down a lot. And it probably just, to credit his recovery after games and what he did. That's awesome. And yeah. I mean, I look back, and the way I came up was, hey, you're a starter. You're in there until if we're having a blowout or you need a blow or something like that.
Yeah.
In the game, but um, it's different nowadays, and I think guys are actually in better shape than how we were then. But yet, I see they get more time off. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure this out a little
Hmm.
bit. I feel like the players are babied a little bit, which they shouldn't be. I
Mhm.
mean, you hear about a finger or a knee or something like that. I
Yeah.
get it. Nobody's going to play at 100%, and that's just the
Hmm.
way it is. And I want my big guys, the core group of my order. I want them in there every day.
Oh, sure.
Period.
Yeah.
I want them in there every day. I don't want to hear that you have your nail hurts or your finger hurts or your left earlobe. I'm just making I'm being facetious, but I'm just, hey, you're counted on. Let's go. Let's get in there.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of the comments we have here. Kristen Marie says, "Go Phillies," and the vet was definitely massive. Speaking of the vet, Philadelphia Inquirer recently published a piece about forever plastics being found in the turf and a possible link to cancer. Do you have any thoughts about turf?
I mean, it's definitely something going on. To hear about the passings of those former Phillies players, and it's awful to hear. Um, turf is different. I know when I was in Philly, obviously we were turf in the Vet Stadium until 2004 when we went to the Citizens Bank Park, and then we went to grass.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal, the Expos at the time, they had an all turf field, and they didn't. That's really about it. I think Toronto may had an all turf field. But not many. And I mean, you see now with colleges, is pretty much every one of these colleges now are having full turf fields.
Mm-hmm.
I, do I have a comment either way? Not really. I mean, it
Okay.
just is what it is. I feel like on turf, it's faster. So I tell my outfielders, I say, guys, you're going to have different angles to the ball because the ball is going to skip faster
Mm-hmm.
on the turf than it is on the grass, and like I knew when we played in Wrigley's grass was always a little bit longer. They had different grass than everywhere else.
Okay.
And I knew that, hey, I can charge the ball or I can take a different angle to balls in the outfield because they had the grass a little bit longer than pretty much every other field.
And regarding Philly, what was it like? Philadelphia was your first MLB team, and you played with them for a number of years. Just what was it like playing for Philly?
Well, I look back at the end of my career, I ended up playing for a total of 5 organizations. And I look back and just how lucky I am that I came up in the Philly organization. They had a lot of ex-players around when I was coming up, and I felt like I was taught the game the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And Philly really takes care of their, they really take care of their organization, the guys that are in the organization, guys that played the organization for the organization in the past. They really do a really good job with the alumni. And there's only a few teams that I've known that will do that kind of job. But I mean, it's just it was. I'm really fortunate to come up through the organization and then get all my first in Philly. Up on the big team.
Mm-hmm. And I see you played also for Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Houston.
Correct. Yes.
And what question that I've always wondered is, what is the difference like, I mean, there's a huge difference, I guess, but like, when you're traveling from city to city in the minors versus city to city in the big leagues, and going from stadium to stadium, you know, there's got to be, do you, like, when you were in the minors, did you generally bus or did you fly? Okay.
You would bus really in the minors until you got up to AAA, which is the team right underneath the major league team.
Yeah.
And AAA, the cities were a little bit more spread out, so
Okay.
we would have to take. We wouldn't even. I mean, it's not chartered flights. We would go on regular flights.
Yeah.
But we would go on really early. I mean, whatever the first time is, and so that, I mean, that would wear on you.
Oh, sure.
At times. I mean, I really, I mean, there was a lot of traveling, a lot of, 8-10 hour bus trips. And, I look back on it. I mean, I still had a great time, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I didn't know any better. All I knew that I was playing professional baseball and I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients that now. I say, guys, you have to love what you're doing in baseball. You got to understand is that, only in baseball can you be considered good when you fail a lot more than you succeed. And that to me is the difference really between major leaguers and everybody else, is that they're able to not get distracted by the negative results that happen on the field, because it happens every time you step on the field. It could be small, it could be big, it doesn't matter. And especially when you get to the big leagues, it gets amplified no matter what. I mean, it is national news now instead of just, in the town that you were at. Let's, for example, Rochester,
Yeah.
I mean, Rochester, you're not going to hear anything from, Sacramento, I guess, further,
sure.
I'm just trying to make a point, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And that's, I try to tell guys, I said, when they call it the third tier syndrome on some guys that are great players, just tremendous players, tremendous talent. They have the third tier syndrome. When they get up there, they can't, it's hard for them to perform because of the pressure. The pressures are completely different in the big leagues.
And we have another question from Kristen. Do you have a favorite former teammate or coach?
Let's see. Well, obviously, former teammate. I mean, Pat Burrell. We went to college together, and ended up playing 4 years in Philly together.
Okay.
Nick Punto was another one. We came up in Philly together. Played a couple of years in the big in Philly, and then just played against them the rest of my career. Favorite coach. I mean, there's a lot. I have a lot of favorite coaches.
Oh, sure.
I mean, one doesn't really stick out. The smartest manager I played for, and I played for some really good managers, was Larry Boa.
Okay.
Who was there in Philly. He was tough. He was really tough to play for, but I look back and I feel like I played for a really good, very smart manager. He was always 3 innings ahead, 2-3 innings ahead. And when I wasn't starting, I would go down towards the coaches and listen to kind of, hey, what's going on, what they're thinking. What do they think about, pinch hitting, or is there a double switch coming up, just so I can be prepared. And just love hearing that baseball talk, or the game inside the game talk.
Yeah. Kristen says, of course, Nick and Pat.
Of course.
So in kind of the same vein, did you have a favorite ballpark that you liked?
I did. And of course, I love Citizens Bank Park. And of course, I love Vet Stadium. It just, those are going to be just memorable for me. My favorite road stadium was Baltimore.
Okay.
For some reason, whatever it was awesome. I get asked that a lot.
Okay.
But I just love the feel. I thought it was just perfect grass. Everything was done great there. And I liked hitting there too. So,
oh, yeah. Trevor asks, I've heard many times over the years that baseball is life. I wonder, what is the best life lesson you have gathered from the game?
And I was just talking to, I had a client earlier today, and I was just talking to him about this, there's a lot of life lessons that I gathered from baseball. A lot of it was overcoming adversity. You get faced with adversity, you are constantly failing, but yet you got to figure out a way to keep your chin up, staying positive, and continue to work and grind through it. Good question.
Okay, good. And Kristen comments again. She says Baltimore is a gorgeous ballpark.
Yeah, it is.
So one thing that I wanted to ask was the big league approach.
Mm-hmm.
That is your organization in Tampa, Florida.
Yep.
Why don't you just tell us about it, what it is, what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I started the big league approach probably about 10 years ago. And bottom line is, I was able to play my dream, and I want to be able to coach and teach other guys what I was taught, and then really help them and educate them on the mental side of the game, which was it was not used at all when I was in high school. I never heard anybody talk like the way I do. Talk about the mental side. Everything was physical, mechanical, and you just figure it out as you go. And I look back on my career, and I played 10 plus years in the big leagues. And even though I was a starter one of my 10 years, that I never got sent down other than being hurt and going on a rehab assignment, but I was never sent down from poor play.
Yeah.
So I had to be consistent, and it's like with any job. If you produce, you stay. If you don't, they're going to find a replacement for you. And so I think being able to teach, how to deal with failure, your confidence issues, how to train, how to prepare, and how to analyze, video now, because everything's on video, how to analyze pictures. There's a lot into it. I mean, you guys should, be with me when I watch a game. It's like the emotions that I go through, because I get upset a lot, because about 90% of the time I know what the hitters are thinking.
Yeah.
And so, kind of going on that, but that's what the big league approach does. And I do have a website. It's called www.thebigleagueapproach.com. I've been doing lessons for softball and baseball. I do fielding and hitting. I've also got into doing virtual lessons, where I'm able to, as long as I have eyes on the hitter, whether they have a tee at the house or they can get to a park and they can hit, into a cage. And if you just give me a phone and we can do FaceTime, the technology's, advanced so much now that as long as I have eyes and I can see, I can help the player. I know I can.
Yeah.
And it can benefit for me, especially from the mental side, which to me, nobody teaches. And I think it's a real shame.
Well, Kristen says, I remember watching batting practice in CBP.
Citizens Bank Park.
Oh, Citizens Bank Park. Okay, thank you. When the players' kids would be snagging flies in the outfield, watching Jason teaching the kids how to hold their gloves and such showed me he'd be a great coach someday.
Well, I appreciate that, Kristen. Thank you. And I feel like I'm doing a decent job, because they keep coming back towards, coming back and getting more lessons and more instruction. And I really just, I tell everybody, I said, my goal is for that player, I don't care what age they are, is taking them to their next level. Bottom line, we got to, if I get them to their next level, I said, hey, that's a win. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I did see that you did, for a while, you were a player and a hitting coach with the Nationals.
Yes.
And you helped mentor Bryce Harper through spring training. And
So yes, that was 2013. So the Nationals asked me to be a player coach. They didn't really have a position, but I was with the Nationals in 2012 in AAA, and a lot of the players, and of course I was the oldest guy on the team, but they would a lot of gravitate, and I would help a lot of guys mentally and
Mhm.
give them different views and thoughts, and I really enjoyed that. I just with the family, I couldn't sustain that even
Sure.
longer. But I really enjoyed being able to be really with all levels of that organization, and then end up, watching Bryce. I was teammates with Bryce in 2012, right before he got called up, and it was I really enjoyed that. It was awesome, and got a chance to be around some great coaches. At that time, the Nats had a great staff in the minor leagues, great coaches, great player development, and I got a chance to learn a lot too, especially being on the coaching side as well.
Hmm. That's great. Um, well, I know you have to be out of here by 5 o'clock, so we're 4 minutes to. So I guess I'm just going to reintroduce our organization, Otherworldly Fundraising. We have we're a group of nerds who have gotten together to use our talents to help other people through fundraising. And every September, we have a virtual convention, kind of like a comic convention, but held virtually in September. And we live stream all weekend on YouTube and Facebook. And we interview celebrities, movie stars, authors, artists, comic book artists. And we always raise money for a good charity. And we do monthly shows where we don't raise any money, but we just keep our name out there. And this month, April, it is the opening of Major League Baseball, and we are interviewing Jason Micheals, former Major League Baseball player. And I just want to say that it was really great talking to you. Thank you for giving us the time and chatting today. And yeah, thank you very much.
You got it. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Best of luck with everything. I think you guys are doing a great thing. I really do.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to take this time to thank all the viewers and all the comments and questions that we had, and check back next month and in future months, and find us on Facebook and YouTube, and like and follow and share and give us more likes. And where can people find you online if they're looking?
Yeah. So, through my website, thebigleagueapproach.com. I'm on TikTok at the Big League Approach, Instagram at the Big League Approach, Twitter at JMikeMLB. I think that's it.
Okay.
That's
Well,
it.
no, sounds good. All right. Thank you, and thanks to all viewers, and we will see you next month. And I'm taking us out of the stream.